afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be re-reviewing Kirby's Return to Dreamland for the Wii, this time with video footage. You might be wondering why I'm choosing to re-review this game when Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe is about to come out a month from now as of the time of this recording. Why not just wait a month? Well, I figure that if this is a deluxe remake of the original game, then maybe it would be cool if I brushed up on the original game so that I can appreciate the remake even more. Not only that, but I've been wanting to re-review Return to Dreamland for a while. I just was tired of wasting AA batteries on Wii remotes, and I finally got a Wii remote charger to solve that problem. Return to Dreamland, I remember being a decent time when I first reviewed it, but I didn't like the way the collectible system was handled. So this time around I just said, screw the collectibles, I'm just going to play it straightforward. And I feel like I had a better time as a result of it, but I still didn't have a great time, as my overall thoughts on Return to Dreamland are that it's very overwhelmingly average. Like, it's not terrific, it's not terrible, it's not okay, it's not quite meh, it's in that very weird gray area of where I really don't know what to feel about it because it's just so average. So let's start off with what it is. It's a Kirby game, so of course you're jumping, inhaling enemies and objects, and if an enemy has a copy ability, then Kirby gets that ability as well. My particular favorite is the sword, not only because it makes Kirby look like Link, but also just because it's fun to swing that sword around and the controls feel really nice. There are a handful of new copy abilities. I don't really keep track of which ones are in which Kirby game, they all kind of blend together to me. But from what I can understand, the new ones were water, which I'm surprised has never returned, and yeah, I'm struggling to think of what else is specific to this game. One of the biggest new hooks is the super abilities, where Kirby inhales a special enemy, and then he gets a copy ability that's screen-filling and devastating. These are a pretty mixed bag to me, as the ones where you just have to press the one button and then Kirby automatically attacks everything in sight, such as the Ultra Sword, are cool. But then there's abilities like the Snowball, which requires you to shake the Wii Remote to give Kirby momentum, or the Hammer, which requires you to shake the Wii Remote to make Kirby's hammer bigger. And I just wish that the game had a more unified system, kind of like the Final Smashes in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, where they performed more or less the same between characters. Generally speaking, I think what holds Kirby's Return to Dreamland back the most is its controls. Now, on paper, they seem okay. You know, holding the Wii Remote sideways is like holding an NES controller. And I think it's serviceable, but the game also refuses to let you play with a nunchuck. So, why? Why was that a problem? New Super Mario Bros. Wii let you play with a nunchuck. Donkey Kong Country Returns did. Why not Kirby's Return to Dreamland? If I had to guess the reason, I think it's because this game has 4-player on-screen multiplayer. Not the first time Kirby's had multiplayer in a side-scrolling platformer, but it is the first time 4 people could play at once. Unless you count Amazing Mirror, but I don't think they were on the same screen. And so they probably wanted to make sure that everyone had a fair shot, and that the person with the nunchuck didn't get an unfair advantage. But maybe if they did what they did with Four Swords Adventures, where if you played with one player, you could play with the GameCube controller, maybe give the option to play with the nunchuck while you're playing by yourself. I think another complaint people had about the multiplayer is that player 1 gets to be Kirby with all the copy abilities. I know that's what they're fixing in Return to Dreamland Deluxe, so there's a complaint that's non-existent. I particularly don't like playing with the Wii Remote sideways, as I don't like the fact that it doesn't have force feedback and analog control like the nunchuck does. So in order to make Kirby run, you have to double tap on the control pad, which is really annoying, and it kind of hurts my hands a little bit, to be honest. Also, Kirby's guard is mapped to the A button, but he can't roll out of the way Super Smash Bros. Style because your left thumb is on the A button, but it can't just automatically switch to the control pad. Maybe I'm just too used to Forgotten Land, where that game not only let you do a dodge roll, but it actually did a satisfying slow motion effect to make you really feel like you're a dodge master. And this game just doesn't allow that, and it led for some very frustrating platform sections. I also don't like the fact that, while it was admittedly sporadic, the game had some bizarre motion-controlled gimmicks that felt like they were just there because it's a Wii game. Certain enemies, when they grab Kirby, you have to shake the Wii remote to get out of their grip. What are you saying, Paul? And I feel like that was just shoehorned in. Like, why couldn't you just rapidly tap the 2 button? There's also instances where Kirby will have to inhale something really big, and you'll have to shake the Wii remote to make Kirby be able to suck air more effectively. Like, why? Why not just hold down the button? Thankfully, the game prioritizes being a traditional return to form. And on that front, it succeeds, as what you have to remember is that this game came out in 2011. And prior to this, the last traditional side-scrolling Kirby game that wasn't a spin-off was Squeak Squad on the DS in 2006. So a lot of people were really clamoring for Kirby to just go back to his roots of being a simple platformer. And on that front, yeah, I could see Kirby fans liking it. I just don't think it goes above and beyond that return to basics. I think unless you count the multiplayer and the super abilities, a lot of these levels are really forgettable, and the theming is not that great. It feels like it's just generic stuff. And thankfully, the later Kirby games were able to learn from this, as Triple Deluxe, Planet Robobot, and Star Allies followed the formula established by this game pretty well, but they also gave it identity, or at least after Planet Robobot they did, because Triple Deluxe didn't have much identity besides the switching between the background and foreground. And then Forgotten Land came along and just blew this game out of the water in every department. I think Return to Dreamland is serviceable if you're a Kirby fan and also a beginner to platformers, as Kirby has infinite air jumps where he can keep puffing up over and over again in midair. I do think there's a lot of instant death traps, especially crushers that can defeat Kirby in one hit. And the final battle is just a really intense difficulty spike that feels kind of out of left field. It's still a really cool battle, but it might catch a few of you off guard if you're used to Kirby games being easy. But generally speaking, you shouldn't have too much trouble with the game, as long as you're patient and as long as you're not holding an item, because for some reason, Kirby can't throw an item if he's already in an animation going down the pit, even if it's a large gap between Kirby and the pit. So generally speaking, I try to avoid holding objects as much as possible. So I think you should rent this if you're going to try it at all. Don't download it for full price, even if it's on the Wii U eShop, assuming it hasn't closed by the time this video goes out. Or just wait for the one on the Switch and hope that it fixes a lot of this game's issues. Maybe adds some new levels, or maybe refines the mechanics, or maybe like adds some Forgotten Land quality of life touches, especially if you can play with the left Joy-Con, or to be able to do like the dodge roll. I think that would really add to the game. So with that, thank you very much for watching. I'd like to thank my patrons Matthew Rakowski, Sploon Ghost, and Splatcat for supporting me financially on Patreon. The link will be in the description if you'd like to join. Hopefully I can update that if enough of you don't want to join, because there's not enough perks, so we'll see where that goes. And until the next time, let me know down in the comments what you think, and remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!